Hello, everyone. This is Becky here at Aunt Beck's Creations, and I am going to be tracing out Butterick B6874. This is one of the, hi Pam, this is one of the t-shirt patterns I selected to do, and this pattern is going to be made out of the pretty kind of I don't know if you call this aqua or teal. I always get those two confused, but anyway, it's a beautiful bluey green kind of color. It's a little darker than what's showing up there. But before we get to the fabric, I'm going to deal with the pattern, and that's all I'm going to share with you guys today. And I'm just doing this because I thought it might be worthwhile to share. I've measured myself, and my measurements come nowhere near the back. So if you look at your back, just tuck that back in. At the top here, it's not going to show very clear, but these are the body measurements, okay? So you look and see where you fit in there. So let me see where I fit here in a minute. And then down here, it'll tell you your finished garments. And that'll show you how much ease, how much room they've decided the pattern needs for styling or for fit. So you kind of have to tweak the patterns. They're never going to fit you straight out of the envelope. There'll always be something a little off. I had one very large baby, so I have this weird abdomen. So I have to take that into account because my waist is just is off from here, but my hips are smaller than here and my abdomen is larger than here. So I'm just going to tell you what I do to figure out where I fit. So the two measurements when you're doing a top or a dress, the things that you might want to make sure you look at is your upper bust. That's really used to be called your chest measurement, just under your arms and across your chest. Measure there, then measure around the fullest part of your bust, right across the front of where you're the fullest, and get that measurement, okay? Get those two measurements. Then look at your pattern envelope. So my upper bust, my chest measurement is 40, and then my fullest part of my bust is a 43.5. So on the pattern envelope, this is what I'm going to point out to you. You come across and you have a bust measurement. So you have a size 18 is a 40 bust, a size 20 is a 42, and a size 44 inches around gives you a 22. So I look at my upper bust first because that's where you want the top of your blouse to fit the best. And I can do a 40 or the 42. If I moved up and went to the 44, it would be too big across the chest. And then if you take and you look at the finished bust measurements to get it over my bust, it says the fullest part of the bust finishes at 43. So I would only be a half an inch off, and this fabric has stretch. So I could do a 20, but I'm 41 under my arm. So if I really wanted that to fit well, I would use that and start with a size 18, the size 18 pattern, and grade out slightly. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to start with an 18 at the top. I'm just going to write on here size 18. And then I will grade out just under my arm to get it to fit across my bust. So what's the difference? I'm going to have to grade out. I'm just going to say to the 42. So the difference is about 2 inches, 2.5 inches. I'll grade out. So at bust, I'm going to grade out by let's just do 2 inches. All right. If you think about your pattern pieces, when you look at your pattern, you'll have seam lines, right? And you have to decide how many seam lines do I have to divide the 2 inches. So I haven't looked at my pattern pieces yet, but if there's just a front and a back, which I think there are, we'll look at that in a minute. You'll actually have 4 seam lines because you got a seam line on the front on both sides and a seam line on the back at both sides. So if I divide that by 4, it means I will have to grade each place that a seam line would be. I'll have to add just a 1/2 inch. Okay. We're going to add 1/2 inch at bust. All right. Now, if I look down at the next measurement, they show you a finished measurement is your waist. So let's look at the body measurements expected by the pattern to fit you. So if we look at your body measurements, I have a waist of 41, which would put me off this chart. Okay. So I'm going to look more at the hip, and the hip says, let's see, I'm a 43 hip. So that would put me somewhere between an 18 and a 20. So if I go back and I use just the measurement at 20, I'm still, let's see, 44 is what they expect it to be. Mine's 43, but my abdomen is 48 and a half. So what I'm going to do is take my measurement at my abs, because that's the fullest part. Between the 43 on my hips and my abdomen being 48 and a half, I'm going to take the 48 and a half. I'm going to look at the measurement they expect a 20 to be at the hip, and that's 44. So that's 4.5 inches difference, all right, on the hips. And because I'm so much larger in my abdomen, whatever I do to change it at the hip area where I have actual measurements to work with on the body measurements, I'll just let that go all the way to the bottom of the shirt, and it'll be big around my hips, but I'm okay with that. I'm just okay with that. So I need to add 4.5 inches to each seam line. I know this is not about as clear as mud, but when we do it, I will show you. I just need to write these down so I can see them as I'm tracing. Okay. So again, I'm going to add the 4.5 inches, but I have to divide that by 4 seams. Remember, front, back, back. So 4 1/2 divided by 4. Well, that'd be 1 inch and 1/8 at each seam line. Add 1 inch and 1/8 to each seam line. So you can make just small changes and get these patterns to fitting you. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to pull the pattern out, and we're going to start tracing. I just use Sharpie markers. I usually put something down to protect my fancy table, but yeah, let me see if you guys have said anything yet. Janet loves Pam's dungarees. I do too. Pam's got some cool ones. Pam's still in her PJs though. I really like the matching set you had in the last video. They look like they matched perfectly. I mean, the top had the same green as the overalls. They were so cool looking. Hi, Beth. I don't know if I'm a math wizard. The real tell is if the shirt turns out to fit me pretty good. So, okay. What I have here, I ordered this off Amazon. It's not the same tracing paper I normally use. You know what this is that they sent me? This is the paper the doctor puts down for you to sit your butt on. That's what this is. But you know what? It works just fine. So I'm going to roll this out, and then we'll slide the pattern pieces under here that I need. So how do I know which pattern pieces do I need? If you open up the instructions, don't worry about the brown paper yet. And we're going to do top A. This is just a real basic lesson on how I get started sewing. So if you look, always, if you're new to sewing, read this fabric cutting and layouts. Not everybody absolutely follows this, but to be sure, when you're first learning to sew, if you follow this, you'll never have that. Do you know sometimes you'll get pants, even bought ones, where the leg will kind of twist around your leg? The reason that happens is it got cut off straight of grain. So it's been cut slightly on the bias, and the fabric will follow its grain. And so that causes a twisting, okay? So what you want to do is read over this. You'll want to read that anyway because it tells you what all the indications are. If it's clear white, it's the right side of your pattern is up. If it's got dots on it, it's wrong side of the pattern down is up. So you flip your pattern piece over so the writing is down. And if it's a solid, that's the right side of the fabric. And then if it's clear like this, it's the wrong side of the fabric. So if you come over to, this is the top we're going to make. All right. And I'm hoping that fabric's 60 inches wide because that's what they have called for here. It says this is the width of the fabric that you need here. Oops. So top A, the width of the fabric they're using is 60 inches. They show you here, and this is why you need to learn the color coding for every pattern, because every pattern might change it a little bit on you. So where you see the dark in the background, that means the right side of the fabric is facing up. So what they did is they just folded the ends in, and this is the selvage over here. So they have the length of the fabric running this way, like it's cut off the bolt with the selvages at this side. And then they folded the ends in here and here to get the pattern pieces on there. And again, on these pattern pieces, because this is folded up, it's showing the dotted grid on the pattern pieces. So that means your pattern is going to be wrong side of the pattern up. So they want you to put your pattern pieces face down there and there. And then they cut the sleeves out of the section in the middle between the two folded sections. So this pattern piece is right side up, then you flip it wrong side up because you want the front of your sleeve to be the opposites, okay? From one, because you don't want two right arms on your left, right? Or whatever. So this is just all the layout. But what this also tells you, underneath where it says the 60 inches, that gives you the sizes. So this is the 8 to 10, 12 to 14 layout. And then this is the one I would use because I'm in the larger size group. And see how, because I'm using probably larger pattern pieces, they've changed how they want me to lay it out to get the most use out of your fabric. Now, is this really the most use out of the fabric? Not always. Sometimes you can skinny by changing how the layout is slightly, but you do have to keep in mind that grain line, because if you cut too far off the grain line, you'll get that weird twisting. Okay. Yeah. All right. Now let's look back. Let's see. It's not showing it except in the pieces. All right. So now if you look at the layouts, I'll go ahead and look at mine right here. It says you're going to need piece number 5, piece number 4, 3, 2, and 1. So we need pieces only 1 through 5. Okay. So that's all we're going to look for on our pattern paper. Now this is the fun part, and everybody has trouble folding these back down, but I've never had any trouble folding them back. I just look at it as a big roadmap. I do not cut my patterns out because my body changes too much. And plus I like to sew for like my sisters every once in a while. So I leave the patterns intact, and that's why I trace, okay? All right, I need to back you guys back out because this is not making any difference, and I want to make sure I'm as far out as possible for these larger pieces. All right. Let me get this, because I need pieces 1 through 5. All right, I'm just going to let that one fall to the floor. Some people worry about ironing their patterns. I don't, because if you ever accidentally steam a pattern, you've shrunk it. So I don't do that. So 8 we do not need. Here's piece 3. This has a back yoke, which will be fine. I won't have to make any changes on it because it'll be high up. So 3, 5. Oh, there's 2 different 3s. So that's something else you got to pay attention. This one, this 5 is for sizes 16 to 18. This 5 over here is for 20, 22, 24. So this is the one I need. So I need this and I need that. So I need these 2 patterns off this sheet. So that means 3 of my other pieces are on this large sheet. So let me see if I can set this somewhere where it's not going to get attacked by a cat for a few minutes. All right, so I'm going to pull my paper out. And I'm going to smooth this out. Now, the lines are 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. I'm going to trace on the 20, which is the 3rd line in. So I'll just line this up. I can come over some more. I'm going to get some pattern weights that I made. These pattern weights are easy to make. And I've seen some people turn them into cats and chickens and that. But they are just rice-filled bags. But our calico cat thinks they're kittens, and she'll drag them around the house. All right. Now this back yoke, I don't have to make any changes to it, okay? So I'm just going to trace this out. You guys are chatting like crazy. Yeah, I also have some grid pattern stuff that's like interfacing, but I kind of like this waiting doctor's office paper better because I can see through it just slightly better. So I'm going to just trace on 3rd line in, which is the size 20. All right, and I need to mark my circles. There's a circle there. The little circles are indicator lines. Please stop digging on the door. Come on. I'm going to put you out on the porch. Are you coming in or not? He's going to become a porch cat here in a minute. He's been acting weird all day. Everybody else is in siesta. This one's like, I want to play. I want to be crazy. And when you come to a place that's a straightaway, you can use any kind of ruler. This is a pattern drafting ruler. It took me years to finally break down and buy one of these, but man, it helps you when you're trying to redraw a curve. Now the bottom is not either. So I'm going to, these where they're just a narrow difference. I don't freak out if I'm not dead on the line either. Now these patterns include your seam allowance. Some patterns you have to add a seam allowance, but these you don't. I also want to include that this is pattern 3. This is Butterick. B6874, I think. And the reason I'm making sure I put the number on is I'm going to be tracing out 4 different patterns. This is the yoke back. For views A and C. And then you can lift your, once you get your outer edge, just make sure you've gotten all of your little notches marked. Like this is where you match up your shoulder seam right here. This will be a mark where you line up your sleeve. It says to cut 1 on fold. So you'll line, this is where you line it up on fold here. So I'll just put on fold. Okay, what else? Is there anything else I need to mark? Oh, there's another mark down here. And I need to mark this big circle here. All right, I think that's all of the marks I have to worry about that. It says something about a hem 3/4 of an inch, which I think is weird. Now you made the dog spill her food, you crazy cat. I think it's interesting that they're putting the foreign language on the pattern pieces now. They used to, everybody that was spoke another language had to go to the instructions to see all of that information. All right. Because we're using pattern paper, you don't have to worry about the grain of the pattern paper. You can turn your pattern paper any way to get your best use. Now remember, we don't want that 5. We want this 5. Okay. This is the sleeve. For view A, sleeve A. All right, so I'm going to line this up on here and see. Once I push it down, I can see where it is. I have to come back this way just a little bit. And on this one, the 20 is the line that's the farthest in. So pop some pattern weights on here. It was so funny when we were living at the little house in Greenville, that cat would just take these and I'd find them all over that living room up there. You want everything nice and smooth. The bottom of the sleeve is real straight, so you can cheat and use a ruler. You don't have to, well, maybe it isn't real straight. It's an optical illusion. But anyway, just use this and line it up with the line on the paper. There is a slight curve in the sleeve that you don't notice until you try to line a ruler up with it. All right. And then I'm going to trace this out. Now the sleeves should fit me just fine. I might find that they don't, and that'll be a lesson learned for me. So there's a little circle there and a big circle here. It's best to put those marks on as you're going, because I have in the past missed some marks. So then we're going to come up through here. And this has a double. All of these little marks on a pattern, they tell you where to line them up on the opposing piece. There's something there I need to pay attention to. Okay, so I'm not real sure looking at this, which is the front and which is the back just yet. But usually when it's a single, it's the front, and when it's a double, it's the back. So this is the back of the sleeve, the back like by your back, and then this would be the front. You cannot reverse those, because if you do, then your sleeve won't fit at all. It won't fit at all. Howard's opened the door, so I'm probably bothering Scott now. And we're doing size 20. I need to lift this so I can see what's going on here. Okay, so I have a fold line. I don't want to shift this, and a cutting line. So this first line that I have here is actually a fold line for size 20. Oh, and it stops right there. And then we come over here, and this is the cutting line. So now I need to go back to the other side and make sure I have traced that out. This has got kind of a funny sleeve. It's got like this little bump in it, a bump out or bump in. And I will lift this and make sure I've gotten this right. Tracing takes some time, but it saves on the long term. Okay. So this is a fold line here. And the stitch line actually comes out to this line here. So I do need to come farther because it bumps out here too. All right. 20. I'm just verifying things. Right. Let me do something real quick to remind myself. Bernadette, you made a mess. You made a mess. She said, Howie made me do it. I'm going to highlight the fold lines so that I don't accidentally cut on them. And then I need to bring this over. This is kind of an odd sleeve. It'll be interesting to see how I have to sew this together. And then this is the fold line on this one here. So I have to cut this little bump out. Huh, never seen a sleeve like that. All right, so again, this is piece number 5. It's sleeve A. It has a grain line, and you want to mark the grain line because that tells you which way to have it on the fabric, so you don't end up in wonky land. So you just draw it like this and put an arrow, and that just tells you that that's the grain line. You want to make sure it runs with the fabric. And this is sleeve A, Butterick B 6874. All right. Now I'm going to just lay these so that it holds it. And I'm just going to tip this back, make sure there's nothing I've missed. Got my marks there. Oh, okay. See, that's why you lift carefully. There's a little circle here we need to mark. And I bet there's one here at the cap of the sleeve. And then there's probably one right here. This is like the shoulder seam. And this will line up with a dot on the bodice. And this will line up with a dot on the bodice. Like right here. See that dot there? So this seam here, I'm not in it. The seam at the top of the bodice yoke right here, that lines up with this dot And then this dot will line up with one of these dots. Probably this one. All right, so anything else? Oh, you got to tell how many to cut. Cut 2. Of course, you'd kind of figure that. You have 2 arms, right? Green line. And down at the bottom, it says a hem, 1 1/4 inches. And to me, that's just a guideline when it comes to hems, because I don't necessarily need it to be that much hemmed up. You know, if you want your sleeve a little shorter, hem it the full amount. If you want it a little longer, leave it where it is. I just want to make sure I've got everything. All right, this is weird. It's got right here, it shows a buttonhole. And it does call for 1 button, but isn't that an odd place for a button to be under your arm? Pam, have you made this shirt? The Butter at 68.74? I'm trying to figure out why they have a button under there. It's like right in here. There's a button. I might look at that and say, you know what? I don't want a button under my arm. It just seems like that would rub, and there's no fitting reason for that. Maybe it's just a style thing. All right, I think I got everything on that. So we can lift our tracing paper. And if you wanted to, you can cut these off so you're not having to maneuver as much. I'll do that in a minute. But first, I'm done with this. So let's fold it back up. So if you look at your pattern, you can see that this fold line here goes the full length of the thing. So go ahead and fold that up. Like so. And you can see that this fold line goes the full length this way. So go ahead and fold that up. Again, this one goes all the way, but I can guarantee it tucks up under between the layers. Like that. Smooth that out. This is map and pattern folding 101. All right. So now you can see that these they're interrupted. So you know you have to do the ups and downs this way. So let's start over here. It goes this way. Then this folds under and under. This goes in and in. So they meet like this, and close it like a book, and then fold it up. And it's back to factory fold. Ta-da! Oh! That's interesting, Janet. Thank you. Some work jackets have a button there, so you are able to roll up your sleeves and button up. Just seems like a button under my arm, knowing me, would irritate me. So I don't know. I might put that button on there, or I might not. Okay, so now I'm gonna get a pair of, I don't cut with my fabric shears. I have a pair of dull shears I cut this paper with. I call them dull. They're just used for paper. They're not really dull. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this close to this line. Or maybe these have gone completely dull. And I'm going to do like fussy cutting, the quick fussy cutting like Dee Dee does. And I'm just going to get these cut out of the way for us. Our main focus is going to be how I trace these out, not how I cut them out, because I figure everybody knows how to cut. All right. The next pieces are on this huge piece of paper. So let me get it over here. See if I can get it. It's a really big piece of pattern. So we only need 1 through 5. Let's see. This is 11, 6, 9. Okay, here's 2. 1 and 2 are here. And then we need the neckband, which is there. So the only two pattern pieces I need to make adjustments to are 1 and 2. And what I'll do first is trace them out exact at size, and then I'll show you how I'm going to make the changes. All right, can you guys see number 1? It's right here. All right. We might want to go ahead and cut our number 4. I need the size 20. And that way I can get rid of this little tab of paper that's sticking out the side a little bit. And it's basically just a strip of fabric to make the neckline. Some people use bias tape on their necklines, but this is a knit. You can buy ribbing if you want to, but I'm just going to use the fabric that I have, and I'm just going to line this up. I don't know if you can see or not, but this is basically just a real straight, it's a rectangle. You can just cut a rectangle, and I need to stop at a size 20, which is here, and it's got a little X there. So I have to do this 4 times, but I'm not going to make you guys suffer through that because each time I have to figure the different measurements. Also, if a pattern, this is something I hear people gripe about a lot, about a pattern containing the finished measurement sizes. But you can measure your pattern pieces to get those measurements. You don't need somebody to tell you what they are. You can figure it yourself really easy. I'll show you that here in just a second. Okay, and I need to stop at the 20. And you will also see that there's a dotted line in the middle of this. Like right there, like that. I don't know if you can see. That's just the fold line because this is going to get folded in half. It's just an indicator. All right, so I'm just going to kind of halfway put that in just so you can see that it's there. But the most important thing is right here. Make sure you get this mark that marks where the center of this is because you've got to line that up with something. You want to make sure you get that, the little notches on either end. Make sure you get your little dots circled in. And I need to write on these pieces that I'm cutting a size 20. All right, so this is neckband for A, B, C, and D. So I'll just write that. And there's another little mark there. There's one there. You just got to make sure you get all these little notches. You got to line all this up. There's another little dot and a dot. This is piece 4, neckband, A, B, C, D. This is the center back. Center back. This will be center back. I don't know why they're both marked center back. I guess because you're going to make it just a big circle. All right, here's the one you need. Right here, you need to put a little arrow. When you put an arrow on it and there's an arrow on the pattern, that's your grain line. You want to make sure you keep track of that. B6874 is the pattern number. Cut 1. It says cut 1. There's a now see, that's another thing. The when you're sewing the pattern, in the pattern instructions, it'll say seam allowance 5/8 of an inch unless otherwise noted on the pattern pieces, which this one has that note right here, a 3/8 inch seam. So you want to make sure you mark that 3/8 inch seam, because if you take even a little bit more, it's not going to fit. All right, cut 1. I got that. I got that. And then it also says that the stretch needs to go here. Stretch. You want the stretch like that. Right? Stretch. Center front. Okay. So the center back is at the ends. This is your center front line. I just try to make sure I've transferred all of the information because, you know, if you go into it halfway, you have half the information, and that's never successful. Stretch. Okay. So I'm just going to snip this free. So that means we have just the front and the back bodice, the parts where we have to make a little bit of an adjustment. And I'm going to go and get a different color marker real quick. This paper would be good, and I hang on to it to do rubber stamping on, to send images to people. So any of these leftover bits, I can stamp like mushrooms and things. If anybody's working on a nature journal, I just got in some really cool mushroom rubber stamps. All right. Now we're going to need our notes for this one in a different color marker. I'm going to trace out a straight on size 20, and then we'll make the adjustments that we need to. And another reason to do it in a different color is so if you ever make it again, you can visibly see where you made your changes. I seem to only have markers that have brush tip. I will try to use them. We'll see. All right, so first thing we need to do is trace out. Hi, Marty. Now, I don't know why they're not letting Janet's message to Marty about the snack trolley. I'm kind of wasting paper here, but on this edge, because it's a straight line, this edge you line up with the fold. And I'm just going to so you won't make on the side that has the mark where it says place on fold, you're not going to make any adjustments there. You make your adjustments at your side seams. And I didn't pay attention to which line is 20. It's the third one. It's the one right in the middle. This is a curved line. And it's got the little indicator line like that. When you see that, it just means place on fold. Now, I used to have to make a height adjustment by 1/2 inch, but I've actually shrunk. And most patterns are made for somebody between the 5'5" and 5'6". So I'm not going to have to make that adjustment anymore. But that's what this line is here. Right here, there's 2 lines really close together here that just come across the piece. So if you put 1, I'm going to go ahead and put them on here. 2. So that's where you would cut the pattern apart and pull it apart to add a strip of fabric to make it longer. So if you have a really long torso, you might want to make an adjustment here. But if you are higher chested, your adjustment might need to come up closer to your bust line. And then one person I know that does fitting really, really good is Lifting Pins and Needles. She has some fabulous information, and her voice is delightful. And when she does her videos outside, you can hear all the tropical birds. So she's just a lot of fun to watch. So, okay, now we need to do down here. And you can see where it changes to a different dot. So I need to come to this one right here. When it's a solid line, it's the biggest size basically, or the universal size. And then you just kind of have to measure out where your size is. Oh, and I didn't leave enough paper there. Oh, well. This mark here, this is your actual waistline. So even here, they're not having you make the length adjustment at your actual waist. This is your natural waistline. This is where they tell you to make your change. And on the pattern, I'm trying to lift this really careful. There's information here that tells you how much it's going to be right at your natural waistline. So at my natural waistline, it's 44.5 inches. So if I go back to my measurements, my waist is a 41. So this already has 2 inches of ease in it for me. But my problem's down in this area where my baby pushed me bigger. So that's why I'm going to make the adjustment, even though it'll make my waist wider. I'm not going to really worry about that. It'll just be looser on my waist. It's just I don't want my baby belly, bubble, whatever, to be annoying me and be tight. I don't like tight clothes. I just don't. And I'm probably about as clear as mud. That's why I said in the description box that this is not meant to be a full-on tutorial. This is just how I do this. So this is my pattern size right here. And see, I should have left, this is where I need to make the adjustment. So I should have added, pushed the tracing that way, so I would have had more paper. But you can fix that. We'll just tape some paper there. Don't worry that I didn't do that the correct way. Oh, and I also wanted to show you that if you don't know, the pattern doesn't give you your finished measurements, I'm going to show you how to figure that out. Okay. I'm pressing on it so I can see which one says 20. And then I need the bubble that says 20 here. That's for lining up your sleeve. This mark is for lining up your shoulder seams, so you have them even. Now there's all kinds of other adjustments you can make. If your shirt rides toward the back, you can make a shoulder adjustment, you know, if it feels like it's pulling at you and stuff. All right, so let's get our information on here. This is front A, B, piece 1. Bernie, do you need to go outside? And this one's going to be cut 1 on fold, because you only need 1 front. Cut 1 on fold, butterick, 6, 8, 7, 4. Oh, they put the B in the front of it. All right, let's see what else we've got here. Do we have any? Yes, we do. We've got a little mark right here. That's to line up your neckband. So you want to make sure you have that mark. And again, it's saying when along here at the neckline, it's calling for a 3/8 inch seam instead of a 5/8. So when you put your neckband on, yeah, when you're doing your neckband, you only want to do a 3/8 inch seam. The difference between 3/8 and 5/8 is 1/4. A fourth of an inch can really make a difference. You don't think it would, but even a fourth of an inch change can make something fit better too. So I'm going to roll this back real quick. Did I get this dot down here? No, there's a dot here. Right here. Got to have that dot. I think this has a little slit up the side is why you need that dot. The hem at the bottom, they're saying a 1 1/4 inch hem. I usually just do a narrow hem. I don't usually put that deep. Now, if you look on your pattern pieces, right here, you need to put that mark right here. That's the bust. That's your apex mark. And at that mark, it should be 43 inches around for a size 20. So that'll fit me fine right there. So let's see. What did I figure I was going to have to do? I was thinking I would have to add a 1/2 inch here, which I could. I could put a 1/2 inch, just grade out to a 1/2 inch right here. But let me show you something really quick. I need to put the dog out here. So you don't have any of these measurements or stuff. Somewhere in this area between this mark here and your underarm mark is where your bust is, because this is the apex, the center of your bust. All right. And that's where they're saying it's 43 inches. You got to figure out that without knowing that. Just put your tape measure here. Okay. So your bottom of it's there. Then come over the 5/8 of an inch. So about here, move your tape measure over to what the seam allowance would be. Come across, and that's a little less than 10. So this is 10 or 11. So that'd be this whole piece, when it's unfolded, would be 22 inches. And then the back, we'll measure that. And that'll give you the other. Put those two together. And that gives you what the finished measurement of the shirt's going to be at your bust. Did that make a lick of sense? So, and if you needed to know how long this is going to be on you, measure yourself. So here. All right. So you know where your neckline is here, and your seam on your shoulder is here on your shirt. Stick your measuring tape right at that seam. So line those two up. Then bring your measuring tape across your bust and down. And then this shirt is supposed to finish at, well, they're saying at the back, but let's see, about 23, 24 inches. So where's that going to fall on me? See, that's going to fall higher than I would like. So I might lengthen this because I'd like it to be down to about here. So about 27 inches. So if I take the measuring tape, I can elongate this. I can just split this here. Oh, it's hard to readjust once you've moved it. All right. So this is the neckline here. Put your measuring tape there. Come down about the 5/8 inch. What you're doing when you do that is you're taking the seam allowance away. And then measure this down. And see, I'd like to add, it's without that thick hem, it would put me at 26. And I think I would like it longer. So I will split this here, and I think I'm going to add a full inch just to make this shirt longer. I'm making this pattern fit the way I want it to fit, not the way the pattern company said I had to make it fit or any of that. So that would be my first change to this. Is you were supposed to split this here, pull it down, and we can do that real quick. So I can show you what that means. Because I do want this longer, but I don't want to elongate this section because I want this section to work the same. All right, so I'm going to just split this on one of these lines. I'm just going to cut it straight across. And you're probably going, what are you doing? I know what I'm doing. All right, so I've split that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hope I've got everything marked that I need to mark. I think I'm going to add just an inch to this to make it that much longer, and I'll use a narrower hem. So what you do is you just cut you a strip and you slide it in. And I'm going to tape that down. Let me get some tape. Oh, I think Greg used all of that Scotch tape. Let me get some masking tape. So whatever I do to this front piece, though, remember, I have to do the same thing to the back. I'm just going to tape this on here with the masking tape. All right, then I'm going to measure an inch. I'm just going to add an inch. And I'm going to add that inch from this other line that's on here. I'm going to line my measuring tape up with that. And then I'm just going to make a mark here. And I'll make a mark here. And then I will just line these back up. And if you can't get it, just eyeballing it, take this, line it back up here, and then just move this so you're even. All right. So I'm at my mark. I've got the edge that I cut away. I'm just going to put a little piece of tape on there, like so. And then this should be fine too. I just got to get this to move back a little bit. There. My problem is I like my shirts longer than most of them come. That's why I've gotten to where I'm just going to start making my own clothes again. All right. So that's how you add to the length. Like if you have a long torso, that's how you add to your length. That's what those lines are on the pattern for lengthening and shortening your waistline. Now, if you wanted to shorten this, instead of adding a piece of paper, you would just take and move this piece up over the top of this one, however length you wanted to shorten it. Like if you wanted to make this a crop top, you know, you could shorten it if you wanted to bring it all the way up. But I'm past my crop top years. Thank you guys. And I'm sorry I'm not watching chat too well because I'm trying to more share the information than I am, you know, I'm just trying to share as much information in the time we have here together. And I told Scott I was going to trace patterns today. He didn't know I was going to do a video. All right, so now I've made it longer. Now we got to go back to the fact I need to add, because of my abdomen area, I want to add inch and an eighth to every seam line. And do you remember I told you the seam lines are not going to be here at the center. There's no seam line here. That's why when we check our measurement, we're measuring from the outside 5/8 inch in. So there's this here. So this is at the edge of the pattern, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's where your seam would be. And you come over and you measure to the fold. So that was 10 and 5/8. Yeah, 10 and 5/8 inches. So you know that that's how big that is twice. And then you measure your back the same way. All right. So we're gonna change the things I wanted to change on the side. So I know my apex is here. I want to add at the bust, I wanted to add a 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to make a little tick mark, a 1/2 inch out, kind of line where the apex mark is on the pattern with the, what did I say? A 1/2 inch. So I got a 1/2 inch right on the cutting line. And I'm just going to make a little mark right there. So if that was my natural waist, which my natural waist would actually be somewhere in here because my natural waist didn't move, I just elongated the pattern. In this area on me, it's bigger. So I'm going to make my adjustment down farther just to give me a place to kind of aim for. So hang on. We'll just slide a piece of paper in here. Because I should have traced my pattern farther to this other direction. All right. I might move you guys back so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to tape this paper in place like this. Now, there are all sorts of books. Nancy Zeman has a wonderful book on pattern, fixing patterns, doing small bust adjustments, large bust adjustments. Technically, I should do about a 1/2 inch large bust adjustment, but I'm not going to do it on this shirt because it's made with knit and it has stretch. So I'm not really concerned about that on this shirt. On a woven shirt, I am going to start making that 1/2 inch adjustment because it'll make a world of difference. Okay. So I want to add 1 1/8 inch toward my hip area, actually. So I'm just going to do it down here. 1 1/8, right? 1 1/8. And see, it doesn't look like I'm adding that much. All right. That's where this ruler comes in handy because it's got this curved side and you just line those up. I'm just going to, because you don't need it that big all the way up. I'm just going to mark part way. And then I might bring this down a little bit, catching in the stickum, and line that line up, and then line my little dot up. And then maybe bring this and then just just keep playing with it until you get to the measurement you want. So if I need this to come back in. This ruler takes practice using. Don't think you're going to get it just immediately. I'm trying to reach across the table. Maybe I'll have better effort. You know what? I said I was going to do it with blue so you guys could see the change and I would remember. So if I do this, that's more like I want it. And then this would come all the way down to the bottom, and then you would draw this across like that. So that gives me the added room I need in the waist and the abdomen area, plus a little bit of room under the arm. And because I didn't make a change here at the underarm, I won't have to make any changes to the actual sleeve. Now I do need to put this dog out, so bear with me. Go, Bernie. I'm going to put you outside. All right, I think I've got everything I need on that one. All right, does everybody think I'm doing it the correct way? I want to make sure I've gotten all my information off from here. Got my dot. On this area here, they're saying a 5/8 inch hem. That's because I think this has little cutouts at the side. So I'm just going to kind of cut this along that blue line in a little bit. And I need to transfer this mark out. The brush tip marker is bleeding a little bit. It actually went through onto my pattern paper. It's probably on my table too. Oopsie. Don't need to move this one. There's a dot, shoulder mark, neck mark. All right, front, buttock. Did I write that I'm making a size 20? Size 20 with adjustment at ab hip. All right. Guess what? We have one more piece to suffer through with Becky. All right, I'm going to slide that back. All right. So the last piece we need, I think, is right under the paper. We need piece 2. So let's make sure we leave enough paper to make our adjustments without taping. Now this one, I'm not going to cut the paper. Oops. I'm going to bring you guys closer. Come here. Over here. You can't see over there. Come here. All right. This time, I'm not going to cut it. I'm going to make the adjustments as I'm tracing. So we're going to trace. We're not going to cut it here like we did last time. We're going to trace all of this up here. All right. So then let me do this. This is where we would normally cut it to trace it, to make that adjustment. So I'm just going to make a mark. All right. Can I do that? I might have to still cut it. Sometimes I can just move it down, but I think I am going to have to cut it. This is the part you place on the fold. Oh, and I don't have pattern weight, so I could make this shift really easy. And you'd think this is straight, but it's not. And this is size 20. I think I will just go ahead and tape it so that it's correct. I'll be able to trace the rest of them much faster because I'm not trying to make sure I'm sharing information. So this is the 20 here. And again, I think that's the slit that goes on the side. There's a teepee, as my first home ec teacher said. Make sure you mark your teepees. All right. Third one in. Third one in. And again, the only reason I trace these is because I'd like to be able to use this pattern again. And plus, this way I know where I've made my changes. And this says hem 3/4 of an inch. That's where the yoke attaches. Hem at the bottom, they're claiming is 1 1/4. But you can make your hem as deep as you want. This is piece 2, back A, butterick B 6874, size 20, with adjustment at abs, hip area. Now this time we're going to do, I didn't put the second mark on here. Honey, I'm going to put a second mark on here. They're really close together on this one. But this is where you lengthen and shorten. We should only have to tape the two back together. I didn't mark that you place that side on the fold, so I can do that in a minute. I think I have some paper shoved in the end here. Is that enough to get all the way across? It is. I'm just going to cut this free from the roll. This is the last piece we need. But this is how I do my pattern adjusting and all. Oh, you know what? I didn't mark something. So let me line this back up here. There's a dot on here I need right there. This is the center fold. It's always indicated by a thing that looks like this, a bar with arrows. That always means that's placed on the fold of the fabric. Lengthen or shorten line. Okay, so now we need to do that 1 inch adjustment on the this here. Tape. Tape. I need tape. I can't see anything of the cat because I put paper in front of it. Sorry, guys. This is a little different from what I usually do on this channel, but I am trying to get back into sewing more. So I need to make my adjustments on this side this time. So when the pattern on the pattern guide says that the pattern piece has to be right side up, it means that the writing is up. And if it's wrong side, it means all of this writing you see is upside down. All right, so now I'm going to measure 1 inch and get all this stuff out of my way. This grid is at inches, so I'm going to line that up and make a little mark there. And I'll make a little mark here. And I'll line my cut edge up with those marks. And then to be sure I'm even, I'll line this up here. And then we'll pull this way just a little bit and tape it in place. So now we're on the back of the shirt now. So the adjustments are going to be over here. All right. I'm just going to tape that like that. All right. So here's your underarm. This is where your armpit is right here. Come down 5/8 of an inch. That'll take care of the seam allowance. So you know that your bust line is going to be, or the back part of your, where you measure around your fullest part of your bust is going to fall right about in here. So that's where we need to do that 1/2 inch, a little bit of 1/2 inch adjustment there. So I'm going to put just a 1/2 inch dot out from my edge over here. Then down here, I want to do the 1 1/8 here. And I'll put a little dot there. And then I'm going to do my best to mark them up. So I just want this to gently come out under the arm. I don't really want to change that. And then I'm going to put this down, line this dot up kind of with that, and just give it a new curve. Okay, so I've got a little bit of a bump out. You can smooth that out like that. And then this will come over, and that's your adjustment. So I've lengthened it because I want the shirt to fall longer on me, not because I need it longer, but because of my own personal taste. And that's all the pattern pieces that we needed. So I'm going to again show you how to refold these back. And then I'll show you these pieces one more time. And we'll wrap it up from there, because that's all I was going to share today, is how I make quick adjustments on a shirt. Now, if I make this shirt, and I'm just going to go ahead and make it, I am horrible about making toiles. I don't make toiles. Toiles are practice outfits. Technically, you should do that. And I would do that if I was using highly expensive material. But on these, I'm not going to bother. I find the folds that go the full length first, okay? But, yeah. This one's all broken up, so I know that's not one of them. So this goes this way. And it sounds like this is the perfect time for me to wrap this up, because I think my husband is hungry. I need to go provide food. Hungry, he says. All right. You just follow the folds that go the full length. You fold those in. And if they come like this and they're not going, it means you need to tuck that inside. Don't ask me why they do that. It's just the way they do. That folds nice and flat now. Then you do this goes up, this goes over, this goes under. Then this one comes up and under and under. And then this folds in, and then that folds back, just like that, like it's brand new. If it wasn't for me dyeing it up with blue ink, you'd never know I traced this pattern. So now I can put the original pattern back in its envelope. These were folded together, so here we go. Now they're having to share a little bit more room because they're not folded as tight together, but see, I still get mine back in nice and smooth. I'm going to keep my instructions out. So this is the pattern I'm going to be making. And we're done with our tracing paper and our ruler. So we need 5 pieces. There's 1. Actually, that's number 2. So here's 1. 1 is your front. 2 is your back. 4 is the neckband that goes around the neck. And 3 is the part that is attached at the back. It goes right here. So that gets sewn to this, and then the sleeve. So this is only 5 pieces. This is one of the t-shirts I'm going to make for the hashtag t-shirts for summer 2022. And my plan is to make 4 different t-shirts. Oh, and this is the pattern, the fabric that I'm making view A out of, okay? So thank you guys so much for coming for something different, something a little or a lot different from what you normally see on my channel. And welcome to anybody that I've just started meeting on the sewing community. I'm going to try to do more things like this. And there is a world of pattern adjustments that you can make to make something fit you. Like I said, there's Nancy Zeman's books are great. I have a couple other really good pattern fitting books that I'm going to delve into and try to perfect. Yep, it's t-shirts. Then the number 4, I'll type it in. Hashtag t-shirts for summer 2022. And that is being hosted by Sew Joey. It's SEWJOEI. And she's on Facebook. Oh, you want to see the other? I'll show them real quick. I shared them. And then somebody pointed out that I oopsied and forgot to show one of the fabrics. So I'll show it now. I've got them kind of stacked up and keeping them together so that I don't mix up which one I want to make out of which fabric. So I don't want to set it in that blue ink because it's really, the super tip markers are really juicy. So I'll share this and then I've got to sign off because Scott and I got to eat. But here's the fabric I didn't show for anybody that missed it. And I'm sorry I didn't show it. It's really a pretty fabric. And I said I was going to do view A, but I think the problem with that is, see how that ruffle kind of flows down the front? I love that, but this fabric is white on the back. The color, it's printed on the surface. It's not all the way through. So I don't know if that would be distracting to see this kind of thing going on. What do y'all think? Do you think it'd be okay for the white to show since there is white in the print? I do like the cold shoulder t-shirt too, but since it's getting hot, I was thinking that one would be really pretty. I might just go for it. And if the white shows a lot, I'm not going to worry about it. So there's that one. And then these two are going to be, they're more in fall colors, but they were in the clearance at Joann's. And this one's got some interesting, the way the color goes through to the back. And then this one, I'm going to do view B. And you'd think I would make something like A, but it never gets cold enough for really long sleeves here. And that would be really rough. So I like that. And plus I like the V-neck on that one. So that's what I'm going to do with that one. And then the last one was the one Kathy was just speaking about. But it's got raccoons and hedgehogs and foxes on it. And then I was going to do view A on this one, unless I get brave and do the puffy sleeved one. I don't know. We'll see. I might get brave and do the one with puffy sleeves just for something different. So you think it could create a pretty accent to have that white showing? So Joey on Instagram and YouTube. I don't know if she's on Facebook, but I know she's on Instagram because that's where we're supposed to post our pictures. And another way to enter to get additional entries is to style your t-shirts 3 different ways. You like this here? Yeah, and it's more of a deep teal. Everything's showing up a little bit different than it is, but when I do photos, um, I'll try to get in better lighting and stuff and get Scott to take the photos for me. So I guess that's it for today, and I will see you guys later. I can put a link to Sew Joey in my description box. I don't know if Pam's doing a t-shirt or not. I think she mentioned it. And then there's another challenge by, Adam Sews, and he's doing sewing for men. And I was going to try to make Greg a bowling shirt. He's been wanting one, but I don't know if I can do it before the end of June. So I will do it, but I probably won't enter the challenge. Him and One Lisa show, they're doing that. But there's all kinds of sewing challenges going on for all sorts of stuff. But hey, t-shirts is something I can use all the time. All right, have a great day, everybody. And we'll see if I pop on another time, maybe tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye-bye.